Just to let you know, Chapter 13 of the book is really important because it includes the standard types of experimental research designs, experimental and quasi-experimental, that are used regularly by researchers with human subjects to help study problems and support or refute hypotheses. Here's an example of a research design that happens to be a pre-test, post-test control group design. And you'll notice, again, this was taken from a recently published research study, and the convention of using O's to represent making observations, X's to represent the presence of treatment materials, and there are other letters in other designs that are used to help shorthand the overall design of a research study. But you and your partner should get together and determine what types of research designs you are going to employ based on the hypotheses or the single hypothesis that you've generated in answer to the research problem that has been articulated. And you'll notice in this particular research design that both learning gain, in this case, the difference between a pre-test and a post-test performance, as well as self-efficacy have been measured. Self-efficacy is a common type of attitude or disposition measure used in lots of different research studies related to how well the learners feel they are prepared to perform certain skills. So self-efficacy questions would ask how well learners think that they're going to do on an exam, or how prepared they feel they are to perform certain skills that are stated in the objectives. Once you identify your research design, it's important to sketch it out in detail to ensure that you maximize the validity of the results that you are going to be collecting, as well as the reliability, and that is how consistent would the results of your study be if you were to implement it under different conditions with different samples, population samples. Again, you have different chapters in the book that address these in particular, but they relate to how well you designed your studies given your research problem and your hypothesis. You've got an entire chapter to read on internal validity, or rather threats to internal validity, and those are the factors, again, that might hinder your ability to draw conclusions about how well your independent variables influenced or affected your dependent variables. And so again, going back to the research design project with the young boy in mathematics, his developmental level over the year of study would be an example of a threat to validity. That's a maturation problem or history problem. He might have been exposed to other math-related strategies outside of what happened within the treatments. There's also the notion of sometimes pre-testing learners primes their brain to focus on instructional interventions or specific aspects of them, and so oftentimes pre-tests won't be used, and that would be one way to control for that type of threat to internal validity. The best strategy to use to help overcome most threats to internal validity is a strategy that's very difficult to use when you're studying real learners in real situations, and that's the strategy of random assignment. And again, the book goes over this in great detail. Finally, the last step in the design of your project relates to data analysis, and that is what information are you going to be collecting, and how will you be analyzing this information? You've got 2 chapters that address how data is analyzed in 4 different research designs, depending on the different variable types that are being studied and the types of data collected. You've got descriptive data, or statistics that relate to the descriptive nature of the population, and then you have inferential statistics. You will not be doing any statistics for the reading quizzes. You won't be doing any statistics for your proposal, but you will need to describe what statistics you will use and how your data will be analyzed in your research project. So I hope this very short introduction has helped orient you to what you need to do for your research project. You need to get together with your partners as soon as you can to help decide on what your research problem is going to be, and then based on a review of the literature, as well as your own intuitions, your own experiences as educators, what you believe your hypotheses are for your problems, and then from there you should be able to ride the downhill slope into research design and how you're going to analyze your data.